Hi, and welcome to the live show of electronics, the Electronic Show Live. Okay, I'm back with a whole lot of improvements, I hope, and today's or tonight's topic is going to be a Good Mythical Morning, which is one of my favorite shows. And we're going to, surprise, surprise, we're going to tear down a Mac. Yes, we're going to tear apart a Mac. So it's going to be interesting. This is a Macintosh that I have never ever opened before myself. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how it looks. I don't know if you know how a classic Mac looks like. I'm sure if we have Apple fans around here, you're probably going to know exactly how it looks. So it looks something like that. That's how a classic Mac looks like. And I have one of these that I got for, not for free, but I got it locally from someone. And that was quite interesting. So I was thinking, maybe I should take it out and tear it apart. And the reason I'm thinking so is because I've never seen it before inside. It could be interesting. It's a piece of 80s to 90s memorabilia. You're probably interested in knowing how this things look and feels and how it was back in the days. I can't fire it up properly because I don't have the keyboard or the mouse to this device. But it's going to be fun to check it out anyway. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Alright. My name is Tommy Helgevold. I'm going to be your host tonight, and this show is actually running live. There's no video recording here. There's nothing. Everything is live. So if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, and it happens. So that's gonna be what it is. All right. I'm gonna see if we have anybody who logs in right now, because I have been adding a new live chat feature to this. I have absolutely no idea if it is working. But if it does, it should appear down here because I've been making some, I've been following some tips on the internet on how to do some CSS and get rid of the chat window background, etc., etc. So it's actually invisible. Your chat should be down here. So if you type anything at all to the chat window, you should be able to appear here somehow. So yeah, that's how that works. I was talking about a favorite show of mine, which is called Good Mythical Morning. Good Mythical Morning is one of my absolute favorite morning shows. It is starring Rhett and Link. Let me show you that if you don't know that already. These are the two guys. They're really funny. They have like 11.5 million subscribers right now. And they deserve every single one of them because they are hilarious. I mean, there are some days I can't even imagine waking up in the morning without these two people because they are really funny. There's like a usually a 10 to 15 minute show, and they have an after show called Good Mythical More, and I have been watching that almost since day one. I don't remember if it was day one, but I remember watching hundreds and hundreds of episodes of these two people, if not thousand already, seriously. And speaking of thousand, I actually bought a little commemoration thingy that came from them, and this is the Good Mythical Morning commemorative coin, and it actually came today. I waited around a month and a half, almost 2 months for this, but they did say it will take roughly 2 months to arrive if you are from abroad or anything like that. So I can't believe it actually came. And they have only printed this in a limited edition, so that means if you are 10 or 11 million people ordering this, you're not going to get that. So here it is, the Good Mythical Morning commemorative coin. Let's take a look at it closer up. This is it. It says something funny here. This coin commemorates Good Mythical Morning's 1000th episode. It's a token of our appreciation, but it's not a token that can be used in our arcade. If you do, you'll most likely damage the machines and asked to leave. We should never been able to get to this point without your support. So thank you for your being your mythical best, Rhett and Link. So this is printed, as far as I know, it's been printed in 23,000 and nothing more. And as far as I know, it will never be printed again. And I've already seen this for sale on eBay as much as $500 to $1,000 already. Is a really solid thing. Yep. It's made of metal and is really super heavy as well. And it's a lovely little thing to remember. I mean, if I ever get grandkids there and they inherit this or something like that, they're probably gonna wonder, what is this? Did I win a prize or something? No, it is just evident that I watched a show way too much, and I became way too much of a big fan of that show. So that's probably pretty much it. So hi, we have DMG from Dutch Force called Nagy Andras on the chat. Let's see if the chat window works properly. I have a separate chat window just to make sure that I actually capture this without losing out on this. So I'm going to try my new chat feature and see if it actually works on the window here. There should be a chat down here. No, it does not work. That's annoying. But I see your chat anyway. Let's see if it works on the YouTube chat feature. No. Oh yeah, there it works. It appears here. Excellent. Great. Something works. Woohoo! Alright, that means I can actually watch you here as well. That's great, because I set up this software that I'm running has a special, yeah, it has a chat. Yeah, it has a chat window that can be run by itself. I had to use some CSS programming I got from someone else in order to make it work as well as this, in order to have big characters, in order to everything else come up without all the borders and stuff like that happening. But I'm kind of miffed that it doesn't really work in my chat window, because I've made a camera chat window. So this should be appearing here. I don't know why it doesn't appear here, because the chat window itself is here. So maybe I have to look into that later. But at least we have this one now. So I can read chats and talk to you, and you guys will be able to look back at this, and people will actually make sense of the questions that you are asking. I was just saying, if you just joined, I was just saying I just received this commemorative coin from Good Mythical Morning. If you ever watched that show, that's an absolutely brilliant show. I really love it. It's with these two guys here, Rhett and Link. I watch it every morning, except on weekends, because they don't show on weekends. And they made this commemorative coin in order to celebrate their 1000th episode. So so yeah, that's kind of a nerdy thing to get, but I got one, and there's only 23,000 people. Well, there's a lot of people, but there's still 11.5 million subscribers, and they're already on sale for eBay on overprice. So yeah. So anyway, if you're joining, you should know the topics of the day at least, because I wrote it in the intro, so hopefully that shows up. Sometimes that doesn't always work. It's still a learning process for me to see how everything works. So yeah. So why don't we start on the Mac teardown? We're already 8 minutes into the show, so we might as well do that. A chat window should show up here. It does not. That irks me a little bit, but you'll have to live with that for now. I'm gonna switch back to the chat window once in a while, so I see actually what you guys are doing. I'm gonna watch on the other window as well, so I have an idea. There you go. It is a classic Mac. Maybe if after we turn it down, we will open it. I mean, we'll run it and see if it works. I know it works, but you can't really run anything on it, because obviously someone has deleted the entire hard disk for business purposes, I believe, because it did belong to a big printer once. One of my town's biggest printers, Osby Print or something like that, yeah. And the manager sold it to me for $10. He actually was nice enough to call me, because he knows that I collect these things, and he asked me, I have this old thing laying around. Don't you have the keyboard? No. Don't you have the mouse? No, I have this. You want it? $10. You can take it. And I did. So yeah, this is it. It has a bunch of connections too. Let's look at that. These connections should definitely have some light, special light. I'm gonna make a dome light that fits this thing or something like that, I think. But let's see what we have here. We have a modem port, because there's a picture of a telephone here. There is a speaker output. I think that's in stereo, because if I'm not entirely mistaken, this was actually one of the first computers that supported sampling and stereo sound. So that was pretty neat. But I remember I would have, when I was a kid back in the 1984, I had to pay like 40,000 for a thing like that, and of course I couldn't buy that. But I was always envious of their 68,000 processors, which I think it was running back then. I was always envious of that. But I got an Amiga later on, and that was much cheaper, and that was like a tenth of the price or something like that. There's a printer port. I'm assuming that's Mac's serial/parallel port of some sort. Here's another connector. I believe this is a I/O port of some sort, and this is a floppy disk. It even says so. So this is a floppy disk port, and we have two additional ports. I believe this is for the mouse and for the keyboard. Now, interesting part is it looks like this particular model actually has a normal port for mouse and printer. For mouse and keyboard. Maybe I could actually use a normal PC keyboard. What an abomination! I'm already hearing the Mac people here in this program turning themselves around and hurting really. So yeah, I'll be right back to get some tools. I didn't know we needed Torx for that, but yeah. But yeah, Benjamin, that should totally be a thing, and we should have a tour of the lab or something like that. That could also introduce a panning web camera. I was actually thinking about building a special switch box for my feet. So instead of me having to reach for the mouse and going into the OBS software to click between the windows, it will look like I have an assistant here that helps me switch and edit live. But in reality, I'm just using what I'm not using right now, and that's my feet. So that would be really practical. I'll go back and get some tools for this. I'm gonna need some Torx for this, I think. It looks like that anyway. I didn't expect that. Today I actually was thinking I'm not gonna have dead air today, so I'm gonna take all my screwdrivers out and make them ready for the show so I can tear it apart. But of course, Mac has to have Torx and not normal screws. At least it doesn't have a specialized tool. I can be grateful for that, I suppose. So let's go back to the close-up cam and see what we can do. Yep. Let's see if I can find the right torch for that. I have some really high-quality Baco tools here for that. That wasn't fitting. I need a smaller one. Just the next one. Should do the trick. Yeah, that does the trick. Torx is the special one here, as you can see, with this special head. This particular camera I'm using here close-up doesn't focus. I would like to change that in the future, but they were sold out for the Logitech ones with the autofocus. But I'm gonna try to get those in the future. See what I can do to get that. Okay, let's open this up. Let's open this little puppy and see what it says. I have never ever opened a Mac before, and to be honest, the only Mac I've ever owned was a Mac PowerBook 17-inch. The only reason I wanted that, well, you wouldn't even ask that if you saw it the first time back in the early 2000s. It was an absolutely gorgeous computer, and it had this beautiful flat design. When the PCs were just a bunch of bulky, well, you know, PCs, bulky, need I say more? And that's basically what they were back in those days. Let's see what I can do without destroying this thing. It is kind of difficult to reach those screws down here because they're like really far down here, which is kind of annoying. I'm not even sure I can actually reach that. They're like so. Oh, it just works out. If this screwdriver here were a little bit thicker, I would not be able to do this, and then we wouldn't be able to have this teardown today because it's really far down there. And you need a really long shaft in order to reach it. Benjamin suggests that instead of a switch you should use a Teensy as a few buttons to act as a hit keyboard. Yeah, I suppose I could do that. I can definitely do that. That's actually a good idea to actually use a HID keyboard with it, with shortcuts. I am going to look into those various solutions actually, so that's a really, really good idea. So let's see what's inside of this thing. I hope that was all the screws. I'm not sure. You're never sure about these things, you know. Especially since I've never torn one of these apart before. I'm going to smash into the microphone, folks, so that you have to live with. I have no idea how to open this. Okay, this is going to be a little bit heavy. I'm going to lift it here. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Oh, Jesus Christ. This thing has been subjected to some kind of serious leakage at some point. Ugh, that looks disgusting. That is terrible. Look at that. Just look at this. That is not a good sign. And I can't believe that this actually fired up and worked. Because it did. I remember testing it. It did work once. You can see it here. That's awful. That is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Look at that. Just look at that. Aye. That does not look good. It looks like somebody took it upside down and actually puked into it or something like that. How can that be on the bottom? I wonder how that happened. Is there something inside here that I don't know anything about? Oh, probably it's a Mac. But let's look at this anyway. That's wow. That is a that's the hard disk actually. I think that's a SCSI interface or something like that. And hi to Peter for joining. And I think that's wow. That's really disgusting. I'm still thinking. I'm sorry for saying that's disgusting. I'm really just thinking about the stuff here because that's like really gross. Ew. I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely not. I'm gonna have to wash that off somehow. Oh wow. Just wow. Just wow. That's the monitor. That's the high power supply. Oh, you can. Yeah, you can see that. This is the high power supply. This is the stuff I don't want to touch because this thing acts like a capacitor. And if I touch this, I will effectively die instantly because I will get a shock that my heart will not be able to to put it that way. So this is not good. But Peter is suggesting that it could be the old battery that is leaking. And I'm not really sure because I don't know if the battery leaks on the backside like this, then we have a problem. Then I could easily say, Houston, we have a problem. Because if it's leaked right through, then this will never be salvageable ever again. So I'm kind of hoping that is not a backup battery in here that has been leaking like that, because this is just, that would be a disaster. So no, I'm hoping not. Let's see, how am I going to get that PCB out? I'm kind of wondering about that. Yeah. Let's see. How am I going to get that PCB out? Is it just... Oh yeah, it's kind of service friendly. I can actually just pull it out. That is a pretty good move, Mac. They aren't that service friendly today. I know that for a fact because I've seen people trying to repair and fix. You know, making this a mic boom / camera boom was actually a stroke of genius. I can't often say that about myself. But actually making it a mic boom like that with a camera boom was actually pretty smart. So yeah, that comes in handy. Okay, but we're going to do something about that in the future. We're going to make it even smarter. We are going to make it with lights and everything, so both have microphones and lights and camera in one. That would be a lot more fun to do. So we can look at it much easier when we do live teardowns like this. Alright, let's open this and see. This one holds it in place. This is just the grounding that holds it in place. See if I can bring it closer to you guys so you can see what I'm doing. Yep. Yeah, I have to remove a few other things as well first. I have to remove the the hard disk first, and there's a power supply too. I might as well remove. Not the nicest or kindest way to remove it. At least I'll get it off like that. And this one. Did you used to have one of these, Peter? Because I know Peter from before, and he is a bit of a Mac fan. So this much I do know. So he might even have owned one of those. I'm not really sure about that, but I'm asking. So let's see what Peter says. What is holding it back? Oh yeah, there's a power supply down here. That's very fidgety to get to. And you see, folks, that is the #1 reason I did not start it before I was tearing it down, because I'm kind of hoping that all the power that was in it has gone. All the residual power from capacitors and stuff like that is hopefully gone, so I don't have to get a shock while doing this. Although I'm pretty sure you get a kick out of that. It's not going to be one of those Mehdi shows where he gets shocked on purpose. You know, from Electro Boom, we talked about that a few days ago, I believe. And why isn't it getting out still? I'm so close to removing this. There's something here I'm not getting. There's a little copyright mechanism here somewhere. Because Apple are smart people. They always have some specialized stuff, so unauthorized people don't mess around with things. Yep, and they have a little lock here, actually. True to their true traditions when it comes to such. Maybe there's something here in front I need to watch. No, not immediately to my knowledge. Maybe there are more to watch. Peter says that he has several other models that he had before. So you could, for example, mention a few of those models if you want to, Peter, just to entertain the rest of us. This one says 88. I believe this is from 1988. There's actually a date stamp inside of it, which says 12th month of 88, so it's almost a 98 model. I'm wondering here what is holding it back. I can see there's a push out mechanism here that is supposed to make me able to just pull it out to the side. But there is something that is holding it back somewhere, and I can't really tell what it is. It even looks like it has a few memory expansion units as well in it. So that's kind of interesting. Where is it connected? I can hear something. It is this one too, but I can hear something else. Oh yeah, I think I have to remove that disk drive cable because it's holding it back. It could be as simple as that. Yeah, that's it. And this one should be able to turn out to the side. Okay, this one just came off. That's interesting. Let's check it out. Okay, we're into no, the battery is actually just fine. It is the Vartar battery is right here, and let's see what kind of a battery it is. It doesn't look like a normal battery to me. It says AAA. No, it's just AA. Is it one of those lithium ones? Because they don't really have a habit of leaking. Yeah, it's a lithium battery. That's easy to change. I think I do have a lithium battery, so if I ever want to change it, these don't leak very easily, so it's a good thing. Apple at least thought about that. And look at that, it has 4 RAM expansion modules. I wonder, they call SIM modules actually here. It says so here. I wonder how much memory it had. I'm guessing 2 gigabytes or something like that, because that was huge back in the days. So it might even have that much. I remember my Atari Mega ST, which were sort of a competitor back then to the classic Mac, had 2 megabytes. There's a chip here, which is branded Apple. For your Apple aficionados, this is a VGC 7219 0678. So if you want to Google that, you could find out what that is. I have no idea what that is. But I do know this buddy. This buddy here, I do know. This is an old friend of mine. All right, Peter is mentioning some of the PCs Macs he have had over the years, and yeah, there's probably just maximum for a megabyte on this. Sorry about that. I think I said gigabyte. Of course, they didn't have gigabytes at all back then. So yeah, it's probably 4 megabytes or something like that maximum. I do believe it's 2 megabyte. I think the previous owner told me that. Ooh, I just touched that goo. Lovely. But I don't think it is. I don't think it's corrosion. It's just some old stuff that leaked into it while it was running. But for some reason, this Apple just survived, because I know it boots. I know it runs. I know it boots. So this should be working just fine. Anyway, and the battery didn't leak. But this is an old friend of mine. This is a Motorola 68000 processor. Yep, you're very close, Benjamin. Benjamin says it's a 68020. No, it's not that modern. It's just a 68000. Plain vanilla, probably 8 megahertz processor. That's what I'm guessing. Interestingly enough, there is a 15.6 megahertz crystal oscillator in it. But it doesn't mean that it runs at 16 megahertz, but it could be. Maybe it's an overclocked version, but I don't think so, because if you look at it, it says Motorola 68000 P8. So I do believe that this is this particular thing is still 8 megahertz, exactly like it was on the Amiga. Exactly, Benjamin. And this, of course, you don't get a prize to guess what these are. This is probably the operating system. These are ROM chip, not memory chip, but they are like read-only memory. And this is probably where the basic booting operating system is. The rest is, of course, on the disk. I'm guessing this just boots the disk from the... I do believe this is a SCSI interface, an early first version of a SCSI interface. And this is a pretty good hard disk standard back in the days. This is exactly what you wanted. You didn't want the ST standard. You wanted SCSI back then. When I had an Amiga back in the days, I had a SCSI interface. I remember paying $300 just for the hard disk interface, especially with the booting room. ROM. The first ROM that I got couldn't boot, and I had to write a mount script, and then later on I got a new version and I can actually boot directly from the hard disk instead of having boot disks every time. That was sweet. I remember that was a big deal back in the days. But let's look at this a little bit closer again. Nagin saying that he likes SCSI. He still uses it. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's awesome. Alright, let's find out what the rest is. I'm guessing this is a dual floppy disk interface, so you can actually have 2 floppy disks on it. This motherboard here was actually, oh, you can't see that. This motherboard here was actually meant for a dual floppy disk. We only have one in this particular model, but it's obviously made for 2 of them, so you can actually connect 2 of them directly to them. I'm not 100% sure what this chip does. It's named a VIA chip. Maybe you Mac aficionados knows exactly what that is, what the VIA chip is. It has a number like RN65NC22P. Oh, wait a minute, 6522. Oh wow, that to me that sounds like a I/O chip of some sort. That sounds like, yeah, that sounds, Peter saying HDA, external disk, zip drives, etc., etc. Yeah, I believe you're right about that. This is actually a just an I/O chip, just like on the Commodore. On the Amiga, I do believe we had something similar like that. So that's, yeah, that makes any sense. It does. Oh, I'm wondering what this VLSI chip is. This is probably some proprietary hardware made for Apple. It says it is a VL8530 04 PC. Oh, that has something to do with speed, I believe. So it has something to do how fast things are. I believe that. And other than that, we have just normal TTL compatible chips and a specialized HAL chip here, which is some kind of I'm not really sure, but I think that's a PLL, a programmable gate array of early sorts. I'm not really sure, 100% sure about that. And there's a small memory here. I can hold this in. Now there's a specialized chip as well from Apple. No idea what that is. And a couple of standard TTL chips. And more TTL chips. And those are probably resistors in series. Lots of resistors. They're not really ICs, integrated circuits. They're just what they are. And I think we should... oh, wow. Matthew says that he has all the Amiga models. You have them all. It means you collect them all already. That's pretty impressive, because I don't have anyone left. I don't have the space. So there are so many things I can collect. Of course, if I find one, I will take it. But they're sold on the market for a really hefty price, and they charge way too much money. I'm not going to pay 4,000 to 5,000 just for a used Amiga. So no, I'm not going to do that. So I'm not buying that. If there's one that's defective coming along, I'll take it, and I'll try to repair it here on the show and make a teardown of that as well. But you know what? Since this, after all, is an electronic show, I think we owe ourselves to actually repair this Mac so it looks good again. Because this crusty looking stuff looks like something we could fix. So while you chat live together there, I'm going to go downstairs and see if I can find something to clean this stuff up with. In fact, I'm going to just do this under the sink downstairs and come up here and do the rest together with you. So I will be back in a few seconds, or just a couple of minutes. I'll be right back here with you guys. So yeah, I'll be right back. I will just clean this off with some dishwasher liquid and stuff like that. I'll be right back. In the future, we might have live cameras that can follow us via Wi-Fi and stuff like that. We'll see. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. And we managed to get it fairly clean, I have to say. So that's actually pretty good. As you can see, most of the crud is gone. There's still some, I like to call it surface rust or something like that, but so this, I could easily say we have saved this max life in the last moment. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it a little bit of extra service. I'm going to first dry this. I managed not to get too much water on the other side, because if I do wash this entire thing, I also have to dry this for at least a day in order to get rid of all the water that is under the chips itself, because that's kind of annoying anyway. So what I'll do is that I will just clean it up, dry it up a little bit. I have a paint stripper, which is very useful for shrinking those, what do you call those? Those rubber tubes that you can use to fix cables and stuff like that. Shrink tubes and stuff like that. This one gets really hot, so I have to be careful so I don't burn the thing. As you can see, there's water here, but not for long. Benjamin, I've done this many years as a service technician. I used to work for bragging time. I used to work for Commodore computers in Norway, and I was a certified service technician for a Commodore, not electrician, but for Commodore computers. And I was repairing their warranty repairs, and I did this for many years. This is a normal routine for me. I've done this for many years. We actually soaked the Amiga's PCBs in something called green soap, and then we dry them like this, and later we just dry them in a dry room for a whole day, and they became fantastically clean after that. We figured it would be better to do this with the warranty repairs rather than complain to the customers that the kids are not so perfect, you know, because the kids are spilling Coca-Cola into their computers, because as you remember, the whole entire computer were in the keyboard itself. And it was not uncommon that we would find lollipops, candy, crust from food and all that stuff, food left over, pizza left over, pepperoni, you name it, it all was inside of the keyboards, and of course the entire computer's technology and PCBs. So what I did was that I cleaned them in a bathtub that we had there, specially just for this. And we cleaned them instead of complaining to the customer. So we had the best warranty repair that everybody were satisfied with. So instead of complaining to the customers, we gave them that extra service, instead of telling that their kids have been messing up their computer with Coca-Cola and all that stuff, you know. So it was better. Right. Let's continue. You have a spare Apple mouse? That's really nice. Thank you. I would love that. It's nice and dry. Feels toasty. That's nice. That's exactly how it's supposed to feel. I can see there's a little water left here, and I better fix that as well. Nice, warm and toasty. And I can guarantee you the water in here is going to evaporate before you know it, so there's no worries here about this. Since we do have a little bit of extra crud and extra crust on it, I usually like to spray it with a little bit of you know, anti-corrosion spray, just to make sure that we get the rest of it, because there's still something left here. As you can see, there's still something left. It doesn't look super pretty, but to me, to my eyes, it doesn't look like anything has been damaged. It looks like the traces are just fine. That's probably why it fired up in the first place. But just to make sure we don't have anything left, I'm going to spray this on it. Give it a little bit of extra love. Oh, that smells. Oh, that can't possibly be good for me. It's not WD-40, it's CRC 556. Getting it all over the table here. Keyboard and everything. Yeah, I'm getting the last bits off, actually, I believe. That's pretty good. It's getting to look prettier and prettier. Yep. Starting to look really good there. I think this one is going to get a good life if it gets a keyboard and an operating system, because I do believe it needs that, unless it just couldn't boot because, you know, there could be some defective traces. At the moment, I really don't know what condition it really is in, so I can't really tell, because that's the only thing that I've actually seen from it, you know, when it boots up. Note to self, clean workshop, because I obviously not used to this cramped space here when doing this is now officially filled with this stuff. Note to self, this needs a clean up. Clean up on aisle 4. Clean up on aisle 4. Please clean up on aisle 4. Yep, indeed. Alright, that should be good enough. Maybe we can continue our teardown now. I'm gonna just put this aside for the moment. Couldn't just leave it like that. Had to clean it up, look properly. Okay, let's check this out. And the rest is just a high power PCB. We're not gonna be taking that apart, because that's just not necessary. There's just a standard green PCB, because the stuff that you see here is just a monitor power supply. And the thing you see down here from Sony, this is not made by Apple. Okay, that's a surprise. They're actually using something from Sony. This is a Sony power supply. This is a switch mode power supply. And we have a SCSI disk here, as you probably know. Really old components too. This how big is this, by the way? It says model XX1A. Okay. That didn't really tell me anything at all. Usually they say what kind of size they are and stuff. And I do believe the floppy disk is down there. They have a very specialized motorized floppy disk. And the screen here, of course, is black and white. So that's basically all she wrote. Right. That's right. And thanks for that comment. I do appreciate when you think about me once in a while. So do please give me a thumbs up. And remember to share the link so a lot more people in the future will be able to watch the show. This is necessary in order to continue the show in the future. I'm probably going to do this for a couple of months, but it's kind of important that we have an answer from Peter. Peter says that the drive is 40 megabytes as standard. Could be a bigger than, but it is standard 40 megabytes. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Thank you for that, Peter. Let's mount this back where it belongs. And I see that this one came off. I'm guessing this is just a speaker. Yeah, that's the speaker. So it should be going somewhere on the board. Yeah, I see it. Alright, back to that one. Should be relatively easy to put together again. We'll fire it up, folks, so stay tuned. Let's see if it works. It has some specialized... Oh yeah, there's a little bit of crud and crust in there. Maybe I'll take out that as well. But it looks so much better than when I got it. So we did something nice for this little apple. So maybe it can get a life again one day in the retro museum that we have in this place. There you go. Went right in as it should. Alright. And floppy drive, I don't remember if it's the first or the second one, but I'm gonna chance it. I'm just gonna take the one next to the SCSI interface and just get it in place. And yeah, those are easy. They can only be put one way. You don't see anything. I might as well show you something. Oh, the whole entire microphone came out there. There you go. Just gonna put this one down here. Now this is interesting. They've actually made room for the fingers. I don't know if that's it. It's that they actually made room for the fingers, so when you put this in place, or our service personnel, you can actually get to it. That is nice thinking, Apple. So that I gotta give them credit for. You were thinking correctly there. So this was meant to be serviceable. So far this has been actually quite a pleasant experience. I can clearly commend Apple for this. They have definitely been thinking about the design. This has been a pleasure to service, which is something I cannot say for a lot of other products, which are definitely not a pleasure to service and not meant to be serviced at all. This thing was really expensive back in those days. We are talking about $4,000 to $5,000. In Norway, at least, in the 1980s, when I was a kid. And of course it was meant for the professional segment. They used it back in for printing and graphics, which Apple is mostly known and renowned for. So yeah, that's what they do with those. The HD is not missing, Peter. The hard disk is right there. So you can see it right here. It's a SCSI hard disk, this one. But it's gonna need an operating system, I believe, because it, as far as I know, last time I checked, it did not boot. It only shows a broken face or a smiley or something like that. We're gonna boot it up so we can see what it says. So you Apple aficionados who knows a lot more about Apple than I do, you will tell me whether it is good or bad or whatever it needs. But I think it needs an operating system, if I'm not entirely mistaken. So let's get the wiring back as it should be. Everything is in place like it should be. That's excellent. Make sure I didn't do anything stupid. Alright. New. All the cables are in place. Excellent. And then it's just this big old thing. Oh, that's still disgusting crud on it. On the shield. You know what? I'm gonna do Apple and myself a little favor. I think I'm gonna wash that as well, so I get that washed as well. I just connect it here somewhere. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, for the love of anything that's good. That does not look nice. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should take a rain check on that. Oh, yeah. You want to see that, don't you? That was like, ugh. I'll show you. You know this looks bad, right? Just take a look at what's under it. Bah, bah. Not nice. I have no idea if that comes off or is just corroded all the way. I would like to actually wash that, but it's just a couple of screws to remove that. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to put this one back where it belonged. And basically, that's all she wrote. We did clean up the most important thing anyway, and that was the computer itself. So it looks beautiful on the inside now, at least. The PCB and everything, so it should be non-damaged anyway. Yeah. Maybe I should have a different approach to this. A little bit tricky to get the shielding on there. I'm gonna have to be very tricky about this so I don't crush the shielding inside here. Yeah, that worked out just fine. Let's see if I can get it to sit right as well. Oh yeah, I missed it there somehow. There you go. Okay, I think that's it. I think or hope that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. It has some padding or something like that in the end that makes it sit really solidly. Oh shit. I turned it around and it went out again. But it goes in again, no worries. Alright, let me get the two last screws in place. Those weird torque screws. Yep. Alrighty. I do believe the other two screws just went straight for the floor somewhere when they popped out. There's one of them. down here. And no, I'm not switching to floor cam. Okie dokie. I'm obviously going to have to look for that later, because that one has taken a hike to somewhere else. Well, yep, it has. So we have at least one. So let me pop that right in. Really? That's it? It kind of felt a little bit too easy. Let's go back to the chat and see what people are saying. Yeah, that would be interesting. If we could make a programming system, that means that the viewers could actually choose the cameras. That's actually an interesting suggestion. I'm going to look into that, if that's even possible. That would really be cool. Definitely, yes. Okay, and let's go to what you all have been waiting for. Fire this baby up and see what it says. So let's do that. Gonna lower this camera so I can actually talk into the microphone again. So yeah. Okay, we have done what we can so far. And let me fire up this unit and see if it lives. So this is the moment of truth. Will a lot of blue smoke come up out of this thing when I'm starting it right now? Or will something go terribly, terribly wrong? I don't know. So let's find out. This is the nature of live television. This is where things can go really, really wrong. And all that stuff, you know. Yeah, exactly. So this is the moment of truth, people, when we're starting it up and see if it actually works. Okay, it's probably going to work out just fine. I'm pressing the on button now. Ooh, that's a good sound. Beep. That sounds correct, as far as I can remember. Yeah, and we have an Apple screen, even a mouse. I don't remember seeing the mouse controller before. That's news to me. Okay, but that's all she wrote, or what? Okay, it says something. Yeah, it asks for a disk. It is asking for a disk. I have no idea what it wants besides that disk. Basically, that's what it's saying. That's all that is asking for. Please insert some disk or something. You Apple people, you know more than that. You know, but I have to admit, the same thing it was with the Amiga back in those days. We did have hard disks inside of the Amiga, but we did need a boot disk in order to set up the system for the first time. And I'm guessing that someone erased the hard disk on this thing, so the operating system is just not here and available at the moment. But there is a small mouse pointer up here somewhere. So yeah, but it works, as Peter says. It needs the OS, but it works. So I'm believing this unit probably is just fine. Just needed to get rid of that crud and crust and stuff like that, and it'll just work like a charm again. Excellent. We have a Mac. If it wasn't for the fact that I actually owned a PowerBook once, I could almost call myself a proud owner of my first Mac. Alright. And play nice now, people. We don't want a Mac owners versus PC owner war here. We have been there before, Peter, haven't we? And we're not going to go there. Not really. So I'll just put this puppy away and I'll be right back. I need to wash this area because it's full of crud right now. It doesn't look too good. All that crud and crushed, but war spoils. Yep, that's what happens. But I can tell you this much: I don't think I remember this disc looking quite this shiny before. Lots of 556 lubricant on it, and it smells like a car repair shop in here right now. It really does. Okay. I'm thinking. It's been an hour already now, and I'm thinking. I'm wondering if 2 hours is not too long, or 1 hour is just fine. This is a balance thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about if that's really a good thing to have a 2-hour show or just a 1-hour show. Another thing is that I very rarely get suggestions on what show we should make and what the show should be all about. It's about electronics, obviously, but I'm thinking if we should, what we should do next. I was actually thinking about maybe we could build an arcade machine together, like a MAME emulator machine or something like that. But yeah, thank you, Benjamin. It was my pleasure. Benjamin just wrote that it was nice to see him clean up the Mac, and he liked that. That was good. All right. Glad you like that sort of thing. It's good to have feedback. I found this thing on a flea market called a Vision DVD player. It doesn't work, but I bought it for like 25 kroners or something like that, I think. And I was thinking maybe I can use that PFT screen for something if it's not too specialized. Sometimes the screens are actually just RGB video signal compatible, and they can be used to make a little game machine or something like that. But it's because they usually come with quite a nice little screen. Yeah. Well, you say repairing a pinball machine. Those things are ridiculously expensive, even used. I mean, I tried to get a Star Trek The Next Generation once, but it disappeared right in front of my eyes. They had one for sale for $300-400. It was crusted, and it only says beep or something like when you turn it on, which means the logic is probably screwed. But I could probably fix that because they actually sell for 20,000 or something like that, not dollars, but 20,000 Swedish kroners. So that's roughly $2,500. It's what they cost. Those things are expensive to buy. So if you want to buy one that works, you have to, here in Sweden at least, you have to fork up at least $2,000, the minimum. And no, I'm not going to buy one for $2,000. Maybe in the future, if I ever get enough money for that kind of stuff, I'll do stuff like that. It's expensive enough, all the stuff that I got here to begin with. But I would love to have one, of course. And I've actually visited some old arcade game place in Oregon. When I visited Astoria in Oregon, that was an absolutely gorgeous place, by the way. I have a video about that you can watch on my YouTube channel if you want to see how Astoria looks like. But there's a place called Portland, and they have a place called what is it called again? Ground Control Arcade, I think. Let's Google it, see if I can find it. Let's Google that, because it is a great place to be. See if they still have their page up. Hopefully not messing up with that. Okay, I'm gonna Google it instead. There it is. It was com instead of org. This is a pretty sweet place. It is in Portland, Oregon. It is an absolutely gorgeous place to hang out. They have all kinds of arcade machines in there. This is pretty much how it looks. It looks really well designed, and they have all the old classics in there. Mrs. Pac-Man. I was playing Mrs. Pac-Man in the championship against somebody. It wasn't a championship edition, but they had like two Mrs. Pac-Man arcade games where you could compete against each other. And they have a bar So you can, after 1700 hours, if I'm not entirely wrong, then you can drink legally, and you can drink and play if you like that, and you can taste the local breweries, different alcoholic beverages. But it's basically a family place for families to get together and play their old games with dads and moms from the 80s and stuff like that. So it's open during the daytime, and there's of course not serving anything else than Coca-Cola and normal alcohol-free beverages and stuff like that. But this is in Portland, Oregon. So if you ever visit Portland, this is an absolutely fabulous must-have place to visit. You have to go there because they have like tons of arcade games in that place, and they're only doing it for their passion. I remember when I was there, sometimes they could open it up all night. That means they close the doors, and we who already hang around and play video games there, they will put it into free play during the whole entire night, and we will be able to play all the games for free all the night. And sometimes they have championships and stuff like that. But I can tell you that place is actually packed with people. You wouldn't believe that an old arcade hall, with old 80s games like that, would be able to succeed today. And no, 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 it will. It's totally the opposite. It absolutely will succeed. People like me and you guys in our 30s or 40s, etc., we love going to the arcade games from our childhood. And they have a huge success with that arcade hall. It's packed with people. They've even mounted speakers on the outside of the arcade so people can hear how busy they are on the inside. You can hear all the people talking like crazy, and that's not a gimmick. When you go into that place, it is crowded with people. There's like hundreds of people just jammed into the place playing old video games arcade. And upstairs, they have something for you, Benjamin, and me, of course, as well, and all the other ones who love pinball games. And that is, they do have the whole second floor filled with just pinball games. And it's just amazing stuff. Well, Nagy, I have been typing since I was 12 years old with my first Commodore 64. So I do believe that it just still works. But yeah, it doesn't matter, Peter. You enjoyed them. That's the most important part. I mean, I wasn't very good at it either. I mean, I loved Pac-Man, but I still sucked donkey balls on Pac-Man. I'm not kidding about that. I mean, I was horrible at it. I think I got like 20,000 or something like that. After that, I just couldn't do it. Later in life, I have been playing it much later, and I can get to 60 or 70,000 or something like that. After that, I just give up. I think I got 170,000 on Miss Pac-Man last time I visited Portland, Oregon, and Ground Control Arcade. I played together with some really competitive people, and of course they won. They hang out there every single day and they play this competitively. So yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. Yep, sure is. Um, yeah, I don't really have that much more to talk about. Do you have any ideas, guys? What you want to take up in the live show? Well, now that we're talking about arcade machines, I was actually thinking that we could build one together. I have gathered all the tools that I need to build one. I have this special arcade keyboard that I got from a flea market. It's ridiculously expensive in real life. Not anymore. I do believe it's on sale, but they have one that cost roughly. They have one that. Wait, I'll show you this. It's better that instead of me bumbling around, blah 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 blah, I'm gonna show you. I have this huge arcade console here that I can show you. Watch this. Is this sweet or is this sweet? This thing is called the X Arcade. It was sold to people who wanted to play MAME, multi-arcade emulator or something like that. Multi-arcade machine emulator, MAME. And it actually is just a keyboard. They just have a keyboard processor on it. And basically, it has micro switches. You can hear that. Click, 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 and stuff like that. And let me raise it a little bit so you can see it. You can hear it clicks. And that's real. This is the real deal. All of these, I actually bought this for like $5 on the flea market, because the guy who sold this have absolutely no idea how to use it on his PC. So, but I found out how to use it. It was actually very simple. It has this RS-232 port here, and it can actually be used on PS3 and Xbox and all those things. It has a standard PC keyboard input, which means you can just connect your PC keyboard to it, and you can connect there's a special converter here that goes into your PC, so to speak, because essentially this is actually just a PC keyboard. And yes, it is super solid. On the inside, we might do a teardown one day of this thing, so you get to see how it looks like inside, because it is massive. It is absolutely a monstrosity in itself. But it is a cool thing, and I was thinking that we can use this to make the arcade machine, because I've gotten the special, they're not called plywood, there's a kind of special wood with small wood pieces like sawdust or something like that inside of them. They're commonly used by IKEA, and that's where I got them as well. And I'm going to use those for the walls and place the monitor inside of it and screw the PCB of the PC into the walls, just like old arcade machines, and have the power supply on the bottom, just like an old arcade machine would be built. So I was thinking about fitting this directly into it instead. Instead of just taking this beautiful thing apart, I was going to make a mount where this one just fits right into it. Because God knows I have a lot of monitors. I have like 14 or 15 monitors that I can figure out how to use. So that could be fun. Yep. So that's for a later show, I think. Yeah, Raspberry Pi. I had one of those and I sold it again because I never used it. I mean, I had it laying on my shelves for God knows how long. I had it laying on my shelves for way too long, 2 years or something like that, and I didn't use it because I just ended up using Arduinos instead, because these are far my favorites to be using, the Arduinos. This is what I mess around with when I mess around with things. I also have, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this. I have other devices than Arduinos. This is a Mega. This is an Arduino Dewey. I do believe you guys have one of those. There's a Dewey. That's like a 32-bit processor. This is a 16-bit version. This is a Stellaris. You can actually install Arduino on Stellaris today. So this could actually be used. Actually, it's quite fast. It has a simulator board here and the main running board here, so it actually has two processors in one. It's quite cheap back in the days when I bought it. I have a touch screen here, which I do believe is a how big is it? It says 3.5 TFT shield, and it has a touch screen on it as well. It can be used. Here is some standard Arduino Unos. I do believe these fits right into that, like that. So it can be used. You don't really need anything else than programming skills in order to make those things work, essentially. Here's a smaller one that I have. Same touchscreen. It's just a smaller touchscreen. These are relatively cheap from to buy, actually. Do I have a power supply for this here somewhere so I can fire it up? This is that's 200 milliamps. That's probably not good. It's 5.5 volts. Yeah, it should do. Maybe it would work. Just try it on. Why not? Shouldn't throw that much anyway. Yeah, starts. And as you can see, you can draw on it and select color and stuff like that. So that's quite sweet. It's just a little demo software that's been installed on it. Stuff like that. One of those things you can do with an Arduino. Maybe put a couple of wheels on it and make it drive or something. I do have so many other units as well. These are power supplies for them. These are already soldered units, like these. These are the Arduino Nanos. Can be these are really useful for putting on a breadboard because they have these pins. It already comes with a small 12-volt regulator inside here, so it means you can run 9 or 12 volts on it, and it will regulate down to 5 volts. It's good for 1 ampere, I believe. It's not a good idea to be using that directly from the computer because it can blow your fuse, your poly fuse if you're lucky. And if you're unlucky, it will just destroy your motherboard. So just keep that in mind when you buy these Chinese clones of Arduinos. I do have a lot of different screens as well. I bought a lot of different screens. This is a small OLED screen. I do demo that in my Arduino videos. I have color screens this size. There's only small TFT screens of various sizes. All cell phone screens, etc. These works as well on the Arduino. And I have a whole load of screens, as you can see. Lots and lots of screens. They're mostly color screens for the Arduino. I also have some small pager motors, just in case we want to make some bristle bots. All small robotics controlled by the smaller robotics, maybe a nano or something like that. And I even bought a so-called camera module for the Arduino. So just in case we want to make a robot with a camera, we can also do that. Maybe we should have one day where we actually do a so-called Arduino special. That could be a good idea, I think. So what do you think about that? Quake Master. Well, I did used to play in clans in the olden days when it comes to Quake. That was kind of fun. I do remember that. We had a lot of fun playing Quake online. Basically for me it was Quake 2 Lithium. It was called a Lithium mod modification. It was just like when you run Gary's mod on another game. It is sort of the same thing. You just run a different mod for the game. And we had the grappling hook, you know, you can shoot up and just hang around and shoot all the enemies and stuff like that. That was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun doing that back in the days. So yeah. But we should definitely do an Arduino special at some point. that will definitely be a cool thing to be doing. So I think we should do that. So we have an Arduino special coming up, I guess, and we have an arcade special. The arcade special can perhaps go over a few series because it doesn't take one day to make an arcade machine. It probably takes a week to put it together. But we could. I'm still looking for some extra cameras I can put up here. So when I move over to the other bigger space and we're building this thing together, you'll be able to interact in that area as well. Right now I'm just using 2 cameras, and I think I'm going to add with 2 extra cameras. I'm not sure how Microsoft will enjoy that when I'm adding 3 of the same camera, 3 Logitechs. But technically it should work. The Open Broadcast software will be able to support it. I know because I'm using 2 cameras already. But I'm not really sure it's going to like to have 2 different cameras. I already had trouble with the anniversary edition of Windows 10 to actually get the Logitech 920 to work on this. If you Google it, you'll know a lot of angry users of Microsoft that complained that they broke their support of the Logitech 920. Luckily, I fixed that. I remember I did a lot of hocus pocus in order to make it work, but it did work. So if you need to know that, I'll tell you one time in the future, but it will take a while to explain that because it was kind of tricky. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do some RF. One thing that we could do live, I have seen one of the most popular videos that I have is this when I'm making a video. Let me get there. I'm gonna YouTube this. When I'm making a video of me building a radio, I'm trying to beat a world record here, unofficial, because I don't think anybody has beaten it. There isn't any official rules for it yet anyway, so yeah, let's do that. Let's check it out. You can chat while I'm doing my thing. But one of my most popular videos are from me building a radio in less than 1 minute. And it has like 300,000 views or something like that. And let me see it here. This is one of my oldest videos actually. See if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. This video here, oops. This video here has over 300,000 views, as you can see. And I'm building a radio here in less than 1 minute. The thing is, a lot of people down here wrote that they don't believe that this thing will work, and someone is even asking for a schematic, and I even showed them a schematic that I quickly drew here in the end. I even made a 3D animation how exactly where to put the components on the breadboard, and I tested this myself, so I know it works. And I drew a really primitive, really quickly schematics here on how to do it. But I did get a lot of complaints about people not being able to build it themselves. And I also received an enormous amount of people thanking me for making this video, because there's a lot of people who also managed to build it. But it would be fun to actually do this live on a live show. I won't be beating the record or anything like that. I will, however, perhaps build it while you guys watch. And if we did this just for fun, we could take a whole bunch of random components, just like a challenge. There could be a second challenge maybe, where I have to make a functioning radio with no trickery, no editing, anything, just live, just like this, and actually build a radio live while you guys are chatting with me, and build one that actually works live. So that could be kind of fun. We could do that as well. Let's get back to the opinions and see what you are thinking. Well, it doesn't have to be an AM radio, and definitely not blindfolded. It doesn't have to be an AM radio. And Yeah, but it can. I'm thinking of just a shortwave radio or some sort, because those are the easiest thing to make. A very non-family edition would be to make. I was thinking, well, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I was thinking about making a radio under the influence one guy, but time just for fun to see if I could do that, and that probably would be a hilarious video. But I don't drink alcohol so much anymore, so I thought that was really be a bad idea. I don't want to do that. But there's no doubt that would have been absolutely freaking hilarious. But maybe we could do the blindfolded one. I'm not really sure that's a good idea. I wouldn't get shocked though, because it doesn't use high voltages, but I probably would smoke a few components or something like that. Definitely. Yes. I'm looking around to see if there's anything interesting to talk about. Oh yeah, you did mention my little oscilloscope up there. You said it was a trio. No, it is not a trio, but it could look like one. It is not a trio. It is a heat kit, I think. Let me check. No, it's a leader. Let me get that. I can't really get that because it's stuck up here. It's actually connected. So that will have to be another time. But did you see that? Oh, yeah, it's this one. But I think that one still works. Let's turn it on. It comes on. You'll see it. It is a small 4 megahertz leader oscilloscope. I bought that one for $10 at a flea market, at a radio amateur flea market. It is kind of old, so you have to forgive it for not being that strong when it comes to trace. Well, it's okay actually. It turns out just fine. It does not use the modern connectors, which are BNC connectors. It uses banana leads. Banana, so you can go bananas. That's connected. As high horizontal in and vertical in. Okay, it has separate horizontal and vertical. Okay. Yeah, it can probably be used as an XY scope as well. That would be kind of neat. But it does have some rudimentary triggering, I believe. And I do mean very rudimentary. You can see the sine wave here. I'm going to amplify the input so you can see it a little bit easier. Maybe gain control a little bit more like this. Yeah, there you can see it. Speed it up a notch. And lost tracking or triggering. There you go. But yeah, it works just fine. It's on an old honorable one. It can probably just be used for audio, but that's what they used in the olden days for hobbyists. I believe it was a economical little scope to buy for hobbyists back in the days. I do believe this one particular model is from the late 50s to 60s, when they just got over to using transistors. So I do believe this is a solid state version, not the tube version. I haven't opened it up yet, so maybe we could do a teardown of that one time in the future. It is in brilliant condition. I brought it with me because I thought it was so cute, so small and so little. So it was kind of sweet. And if you're wondering why it get that sine wave there, that's the 50 hertz that's going around in the air, because there's lots of lamps in here, and it radiates electricity, electromagnetic waves, and this is what it receives. If I'm shorting these, you will not be able to see the curve anymore, because then you don't receive any signals that's coming from the air. If I'm unshorting these, you will see the signal immediately. So that's just a 50 hertz wave coming from the mains in the house, basically, and that's what it is. See what people say. Okay, yeah, I've had a trioscope once too. I sold it, as with so many things. Sometimes you have to sell things in order to get on and buy new things. That's the way that is. And it's definitely good enough for audio. And you're right, it is not very useful at all, other than from audio purposes maybe. But it's fun to have. I thought it was kind of cute, so I took it with me. It's a part of my little collection up there. I do have much stronger oscilloscopes than that. The one I have up here, for instance, is a gold with a built-in plotter. Yeah, believe it or not, there's a plotter if you needed to plot the results. This is a color version, so it's made. Has a TFT screen. It's almost like a PC in a way, and it's very noisy. And it's in colors, as I said. It is a digital storage oscilloscope that is 200 megahertz. And I haven't started it in months, so it's calibrating itself right now. So it's going through a calibration routine. You don't need to connect anything for that. It has internal relays and stuff like that that will bootstrap itself to do the calibrations. So it's doing that to make sure that it works okay. It's branded as a gold version. So that's basically what it is. If you're wondering what that thing upstairs there is, that is a set. Oh. Can you guess what you just heard? Can you guess what that sound was? Let's see if we can get some results for that. This is a primitive spectrum analyzer, the cheapest one you can possibly get. It's not really a spectrum analyzer, but it works sort of. It's like a TV and set finder. You can get these on the flea markets for around $100, maybe even cheaper. This one happens to be digital, so I can see the frequency that I'm tuning here. So it actually just is an used for old analog television and satellite, so we can find the satellites with it. The modern units today, they have MPEG-4 and MPEG-2, so you can watch DVB-T and DVB-C, etc., which is digital broadcasting, of course, which is the only stuff we run in Sweden today. And I kind of use it like a rudimentary spectrum analyzer. And the sound that you just heard here, can you guess what that was? I'm going to turn it up a little bit so you can hear it when it comes on. You can see the oscilloscope here as well, color oscilloscope. Got to turn it off because it makes a lot of noise. I can tell you the sound that you're hearing is from 434 megahertz. This is where the sound comes from. We can see the frequency here. We have high definition camera here now, so you should be able to see that it says that. I can even see it on my monitor. So you can see it's a 434 megahertz. But I've chosen just to look at a spectrum analyzer and just listen to the sound and narrow it down to that signal so you can hear it. Let's see if anybody can guess it right. Yeah, it's free band. Yep. Well, Peter, it is a modem sound in a way. It is a modem sound. But what modem is it? Yay, Benjamin. You got that right. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, Benjamin. Benjamin got it right. What we are hearing here is simply a temperature sensor or stuff like that. So this is correct. You're right. So yeah, enough about that. But it's working for what it does. I mean, I had a spectrum analyzer, an HP8590 before. I used it maybe twice a year. I do miss it for radio purposes, but I never or rarely ever use it. So, and it's also quite old. It only goes to 1.5 gigahertz. So my use for that thing is limited, especially since I have some experiments I want to do in 2.4 gigahertz. And 5 gigahertz area, which you're probably guessing is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and many other things. So I want to experiment. I want to experiment a little bit up in those frequencies. And that old scope, well, that old spectrum analyzer will not do it. But it's good for radio people, and I sold it cheap to some guy who was interested in shortwave radio, and it's good for that purpose. But if I'm going to ever buy a spectrum analyzer again, I'm going to buy a really good one that goes up to maybe 6 gigahertz or something like that. And I would like for it to be a little bit smaller and have a color screen, and I would also like for it to be able to handle spread spectrum radio and radio bursts, so I can sample those much faster, because the old spectrum analyzers, they can only take signals that are basically pretty much constant modulation, and not those multi-channel spread spectrum radio, which would be much more fun to play with, if you ask me. So yeah. Say hello to Gizmo. I love those old 80s movies. Those are fun. Wow, it's windy outside. I can hear the windows blowing. I do have a packet radio receiver, not the radio itself, but I do have the modem for it, the PSK modem. That's called Advanced Electronics. PK900 is one of the most popular models they ever made. Unfortunately, I think it is broken. So that's another one we can look at some point, because I do have this radio amateur radio up here somewhere. This one. Which is essentially a shortwave receiver. And this is this popular modem I was talking about. But unfortunately this thing is broken. Let me show you. This is the modem we're talking about. And unfortunately this one is broken, I think, because I don't see it come up with any packet signals or anything like that. It only shows threshold on the screen and stuff like that. And it could be as simple as just some loose connections. It could also be a little bit harder, like dead soldering points. I was thinking I was going to use this radio for it in the future, which is simply just a shortwave radio I got from the flea market in Denmark. I paid 200 Danish kroners, which is roughly 300 Swedish kroners. And for you Americans watching, this is roughly $30. So it's quite cheap for this heavy TX radio. The transmitter is a little bit dead on it, not entirely, but it still works a little, but it's, the receiver is still good on it. So yeah. Maybe we can open this up so you can see how a modem looked like. And this is a radio modem for those people who are used to normal modems. This is not a normal modem at all. This is a modem you connect to the radio, so you can receive all kinds of radio amateur stuff from all over the world. You can, yeah, how can I put this? Packet radio, Morse, RTTY, radio teletype. There's something even called Hellscriber, and there's weather facts about color, and there's something called slow scan television. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you're really curious about that. It was the earliest form of transmitting, well, I wouldn't say TV signals. Essentially it was TV signals, because in the olden days you had a camera that would be slow scanning, and it would be sending out a weird sound, sort of like a chirping sound, that represented the intensity on the screen. And you had a equal receiver on the other end that didn't have to be a computer, that could receive this on a phosphor screen. Today you can use a decoder like this in order to see the slow scan television transmissions. So yeah, let's take a look inside. Another teardown today, I guess. As you can see, it's very pretty. But as a very, very typical of AAA technologies, they are really up to military standards when it comes to their stuff. The stuff they make is absolutely gorgeous. And this fires up, but it shows something that's very unintelligible on the screen, and that's kind of annoying. So I was thinking maybe there could be something about this chip here, maybe something about the connectors here. Maybe since it's fairly old, the ROM chips could be dead, because if you know what I mean, this is a ROM chip, an EPROM that you can burn and erase. There's a small window in it. They have glued a piece. They have a sticker on top of it to tell which version the ROM is. But back in the days when you erased EPROM memory, you had to use a specialized light in order to do that. And I have an EPROM eraser actually here in my house, so I could be doing that. I also have a whole bunch of EPROMs, so you can get an idea what I'm talking about. These are the EPROMs. I was thinking about doing a live oscilloscope session, because, and I mean microscope session, sorry about that. I could do a live microscope session, which means that we can look at microscopic things that you can't possibly do at home here, because I've made a special connector to my special microscope that I have. It's a really good Bresser microscope that I can be using for this, and I have prepared for it so we could actually do this in the future. What you see here is the chip die down here with hundreds and thousands of small transistors on it. And these just happen to be photosensitive, so you can write the program on it with the computer, but you can erase it with the help of specialized UV light. This kind of light is really dangerous for your eyes. This is not a normal black light as you know it. If you look into that kind of light, you can become either permanently blind, or you can reduce your vision to like 80% without even knowing it. So that's kind of dangerous stuff to mess around with. I do have one of those units, but it's really safety. It is made with safety in mind, so you can't really see the lights coming out of it, and that's a good thing. This one has a Z80 processor from C-Log, and it also has two I/O processors, which is also from C-Log. It's the Z85. This is the I/O, I believe. These are just ROM chips. These are permanent ROM chips. These are EPROM chips. These are permanent ROM. Now wait a second. These are RAM chips actually. This seems to be to me to be statical memory. This is static memory. They might be as big as 32K each, if I'm not entirely mistaken. They say HY62256A, and if I'm not entirely mistaken, those are 32-bit static memory, or maybe 16-bit. I don't remember exactly. 16 bytes, 16 kilobytes. Sorry, 16 kilobytes, or 32 kilobytes. I don't remember exactly what they are, but they're roughly around there, I believe. And there is a DSP here, I think. No, yeah, that is a display processor of some sort, I think. It says display 1, so I think this is just for controlling the display. And this is a SC41233. I don't really know what that is. Maybe you can look it up and see what it is. I don't know. There's a lithium battery here for the backup. And yeah. That's basically it. I think we could do a teardown and repair / something and see if we can get that to work. But in order to do that, we have to get that other radio up and running instead, so we could actually use it for the signals we are decoding, so we could decode this live. I would be using this open broadcast software to connect to a terminal, which I'm going to be using a RS232 converter to USB in order to connect to the terminal with a modern computer, because that's what's necessary in order to connect this one to the computer. Otherwise it will not work. So yeah, that's what would be necessary. And if you're asking what can you use this thing for, well, today you can basically just use your computer. You don't really need a modem like this. This is old-fashioned and basically outdated. But let's say that you didn't want the computer to be connected. You can connect this one to a computer terminal or a really old computer, because you wouldn't be depending on the power in order to decode this. You wouldn't be depending on the power And that means this was really good back in the days, because this is actually the computer that decodes everything for you live. And it also contains a BBS, which means you can have a bulletin board system, a message system. So if you had packet radio and you connected this one to the radio, this one can actually transmit back to you. So you can actually leave mail as if this was a server. You can leave mail on this thing totally via the radio. But you need a radio amateur license in order to be able to do this. You can do it without it, but that means you will become a pirate. But you need to be a licensed radio amateur in order to do that. I just happen to be a licensed radio amateur. My call sign is actually a Danish call sign, because I took my radio license in Denmark, but it's fully valid all over the world, and it is Oscar Zulu 4 Kilo India Delta. And if you don't understand that language, I can say it's just O, Z for Zeta, and 4, and Kilo, K, and I and D. So it's simply OZ4 Kid. That's all it is. That's my call sign. Yep, and that means that I have the license to build radio transmitters, for instance. I have an Class A license, which means I can legally build a radio transmitter that transmits up to 1,000 watts. That's 1 kilowatt. And I don't have to contact the government or anything like that in order to receive a special license to use that, because I'm already licensed technically to be able to build and use those devices. So that's what's so great about being a radio amateur. It gives you a couple of extra things that you are allowed to do, because you have to take a pretty technical test in order to get that A license. You can get a B license, and you can get in this country you can also get a technical only license. You can also, in Denmark, you can get a so-called operation license, an operator's license, which means you're not allowed to build stuff and use on the air, but you're allowed to operate various equipment, but only within a specific power. Sometimes it's 50 watts, sometimes it's 100 watts. And you have to buy already made equipment, commercial equipment, in order to use it properly. That's fair enough, because you don't want somebody who has no knowledge of radio interference to be building a transmitter that essentially maybe knock out the ambulance radio system or police radios or anything like that, and hindering the public from getting help, etc. Interference and stuff like that. These things are really important to radio amateurs. I can use that legally in Sweden as well, because it is if I wanted to switch to a Swedish call sign, all I have to do is to call them and just write a mail to them and prove to them that I'm actually a Danish registered radio amateur, and I will be able to get a Swedish license. But until then, I can use a prefix in front of OZ4 Kid. I'm not really sure if it's SC or something like that. I haven't looked into that, because I haven't needed to communicate yet with radio amateurs on the air yet. I like to build things. I don't really communicate a lot via the internet, other than the internet. So I don't really communicate a lot on radio, like most radio amateur does. I like to build things like most radio amateur doesn't do these days. So I'm kind of like the old school guy. I like to build it rather than just chat. You wouldn't believe it from the chatting I am doing here. But yeah, that's pretty much it about that. Alright, it's nearing the 2-hour end. I might consider reducing this show to 1 hour, because it takes me a while to come up with stuff. I will maybe increase it to 2 hours again if you guys have ideas to what I should contain, or what I could go through. If you want to send stuff into me that I could go through and make a teardown of, you can. But you have to remember, I will not send it back to you, because I don't want to pay for that extra shipping and stuff like that. It will be crazy if people just send me all kinds of weird stuff. But you can send me stuff if you want to, that I can tear down and open and make, maybe even repair and show it here on the show. or I can just find stuff on the flea market like I usually do. I'm going to do that anyway, and I'm going to show you stuff. Maybe next time we will take a look at the TFT screen of this and see if we can use it for a game or something like that, or maybe something else. I don't know. I will not be doing this in the weekends though, so you know that. I will be doing this 9 o'clock Central European time every single day, except the weekends. Saturdays and Sundays I'm going to have for myself, so I'm not going to be doing it then. But yeah, that's pretty ambitious so far. I think we have broadcast like 18 hours just in 1 week this time, so that's crazy. But we got time running. Yeah, Peter, you said that. I think you were talking about the mouse to the Mac. That sounds nice. I appreciate that. That's going to be fun. So I'll be looking forward to that. So maybe if we can get the OS to this thing up and running somehow as well, we could actually get the old Mac to run and see if it works. And maybe at some point we can make it go live on the internet. I don't know. Nothing is impossible. They did that with Commodore 64. Actually, let's see if somebody did that. Yeah, someone actually did that. I'm not kidding. I'm not going to press the play button again this time like I did with the Hoarders, because believe it or not, when I did that the last time, I got a small copyright notice on my YouTube account, which Channel 4, I believe, told me that, well, they have an automated thing that searches through their copyrighted material. So when we're looking through different Hoarders, which we did a couple of days ago on the show, YouTube's automatic copyright detection system, even though we just showed a small window like this size here, and all the rest of the web page we're showing, plus our chats, plus the camera windows and everything else we're showing, even though we only did that, their YouTube detection routine, algorithm or whatever, managed to send me a copyright notice that I cannot monetize, which I don't do anyway, and I cannot place ads, which I don't do, and that the copyright holder are now, I've been blocked in 5 countries because of this, but only with that video. It's either electronic show number 3 or number 2, I'm not really sure. This is number 4, by the way. So that was kind of crazy. Yeah. I have, of course, filed a dispute with them because I don't believe they would actually care about that little square. Just a few seconds I showed a little part of their show. I don't think they really care about that. But the software detected it and they immediately gave me a notice and stuff like that. And I pressed the dispute button and I read everything about fair use and all that stuff. And I can tell you, I am more than fair, because those other people who used the fair use rule, they have like half a Disney show where they talk over the Disney show, and that was actually fair use. I had like a couple of seconds where I'm showing a part of the Hoarders series in a small window in here on their own web page, and that gets detected and gets a copyright notice. So yeah, they're really out with the claws. So I'm disputing that one. So we'll see what happens. If they don't do anything the next 30 days, this dispute will be ended and the copyright notice thing will be removed, basically. Yeah. It's a good idea. I can flip the video. I can probably flip the desktop. I'm not sure. I probably need a plug-in for this software to do that. But this software is absolutely awesome. I'm still learning how to use it. As you can see here, it is an amazing thing to be able to edit stuff live and have various video cameras connected to it. It's only using between 8 and 12% of my CPU, even though I'm running live with different cameras in full HD. So I'm kind of impressed with this piece of software. Who needs to edit videos anymore when you can do everything live like this? I mean, you just show close-ups, you can just switch between cameras. In fact, as you can see, I can even just put a chat window in here that goes directly from the YouTube chat to this, just by using a wrapper thing or something like that. So it's amazing that it can be done so easily.
And I'm probably in the future going to do even more with this software. I was thinking the other day of taking one of my multimeters, which has a digital output, and every single time I make some measurements, you will be able to see another extra screen with the multimeter output. And the same thing with this digital oscilloscope here. This has an RS-222 port as well. And I'm planning to do something similar like that, so you can watch the oscilloscope results in another window. I haven't seen anybody doing all of this on the internet, so it's still kind of new to do this. So it's fun. Yeah, I know, Peter, you'll love to edit. Peter just wrote to me, actually, and he said if I want to, I could send him a bunch of videos and logos, and he would make a trailer for my channel. Thank you, Peter, for that offer. You're a kind guy. I have so many other things to do right now, but if you want to, you can always look through the videos I have on YouTube and make a mix yourself, because all of the videos are in fact downloadable, so you can just use those and edit those. It's not like it's going to be broadcast on a big television station anyway. So that would be kind of cool. You can't just use the material that's on the channel to do that. So it should be possible to do that directly. You edit code all day. What do you? I'm a little bit curious, Benjamin. What kind of code do you edit? Anything you want to tell us what you're doing before I close down? Because there's 2 minutes until I close down the channel, but we could take it up next time. We have six people watching here right now, so that's pretty cool. That's a new record for now. At the same time, of course, the channel itself has a lot more watchers, but viewers. But right now, most people don't know that we are live, because I haven't really told that yet to the world. Okay, Java alone, I have respect right there, because that's to me that's long-haired stuff. Well, thank you, Nagy. I'm signing off right now, because the time is time to edit, and you can hear I'm getting a little bit tired. Making a show that's 2 hours is really exhausting. I didn't expect it to be this exhausting, but it really takes everything out of my body and makes me tired, because there are so many things to do live. So I might reduce it to 1 hour once in a while, and 2 hours if we have tons of cool stuff to be talking about. I can see that most people who make these shows, they are making them to either 12 minutes. In Good Mythical Morning, they have a whole crew of 10 people, 12 people, and they make it just like 12 minutes to 15 minutes, but quality stuff every single day. And one of my, I wouldn't call it competitors, because he's just too awesome. I think he's called Davy Jones of the EEV blog. He is absolutely freaking awesome. If you haven't seen his show, you should definitely see it. And he makes his show roughly an hour, but he edits everything. He doesn't really do it live. He's tested live once in a while, but this is usually the max limit of how much you can entertain people for a while before it becomes too repetitive and too boring. Because to have 2 hours of material, you need tons of stuff in preparations in order to do that, in order to talk about the different day's topics. And let's face it, most people are not going to sit 2 hours and listen to an old guy yabber about, even if it is live chat. We might prolong the popularity of this by adding you guys, which means if I somehow can implement video streams from you guys, just like Google Hangouts, we can include you in the show. So we have various opinions running with you guys live, and that should make a dialogue much more interesting. Instead of just watching the chat like this, it should be it should be interesting for everybody, because then everybody can partake in the chat instead of just seeing one person talking all the time. So this technically would be much more fun, I think. So for now, I'm not really gonna announce it live, but I want you guys to spread it. So I hope you guys will help me spread this channel and this live show on every single channel. If somebody will do it on Reddit, it would be nice, because it's very difficult for me as the originator of the show to do this, because it's against the Reddit rules. If you do it for me on Hackaday, other places and stuff like that, would be awesome. If you have a account somewhere where you're hanging out, it would be nice if you mention this channel and let them see these live shows, so it gets a little bit more popular and gets more viewers, because that makes it more fun for you too, because then we get more people to chat here and hang out, and it makes it tons more fun, because then we get ideas how we're gonna develop this show, and more stuff that the people are gonna send in, and more stuff that I can show you that I already have and make teardowns of. Because this has the potential, as you said, Benjamin, this has the potential to be really great. But we need you people to make it great, because without you, this show is nothing. I could sit here and talk endlessly about stuff, but it will not be half as interesting if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you for that. Definitely should have more babes. Maybe we can make a robot babe in the future, Peter. But again, this has been the Electronic Show. Thanks for watching these 2 hours today. And for the last time this week, tomorrow, before we have a new week, I'm not going to be showing this during the Saturday and Sunday. But for this week, there will be one more show tomorrow. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys later. And thanks for watching.